Howdy, folks. I'm Doctor McFarland, and I did not want to choose that camera. I want this one. Hey, this looks better. Welcome, guys. This is the end of April, Sunday, April 28th. I've had a lot of fun this month watching lots of basketball, and I finished off with March Madness, and now I'm big into the NBA playoffs. And I've really grown to love the Denver Nuggets. Jokic, the Joker, as they call him, he's just a man on fire. He's a huge 7-foot tall basketball player from Serbia, and the man can prance around on the court like he's on ice skates. But he can control the ball, but he's big. He can shoot from anywhere. He can pass from anywhere. It's pretty fun to watch. So I'm not really big into any other teams all that much. I mean, I like watching a good game whenever I can. But, like the Celtics game last night was just a blowout, so that wasn't fun to watch at all. But thankfully, I record all of them, that I can just fly through the ones that are the most interesting. But anyway, that's what I've been up to this month. And I got a chip on my nail. Oh, well, that's what happens. I have the Headrush core over here, and we are going to have some fun. I've already kind of made some rigs that I'm going to basically go over, and then I will upload them to the site so you can download them for yourself and check them out. I'm still using the Orion Studio Synergy core from Antelope Audio, and I got some cool little some effects going here on my voice. Sounds pretty good in my in-ears. Y'all let me know how the sound is out there for you guys. And we should have good volumes everywhere. Here's my guitar. Okay, you can see the school bus back here. I do have a drum set from Alesis, the Strata Prime, that I'm going to be reviewing on the channel. That came from Zounds.com, my new affiliate partner. I will have affiliate links to Zounds in the description, and I am an affiliate. So if you purchase anything through those links, even if you click the link now, anytime within 45 days, if you purchase anything from Zounds.com, then I get a commission from that, and I do appreciate all support. From clicking on affiliate links and also going to the website and buying a course, whether that's a Headrush course or a music theory course, music production course, all the things. So I'm having fun doing some group teaching right now. I have a group guitar class I teach on a Tuesday night at a church in Murfreesboro, and that has been really fun. I'm getting to know the kids. And they're very, very dirt cheap Amazon guitars that the church are providing for the kids to learn on. But, as long as you got 6 strings and a willingness to practice a little bit and dig into something new, then, any kind of musical instrument is great to pursue and just have fun. So this is what I try to do when I play guitar. This is the Kiesel CS3. It's kind of like my new Les Paul style instrument, since I did sell my other Les Paul, my actual Les Paul. But this is cool. It has stainless steel frets. It does have the walnut, maple, walnut, which is a 5-ply neck. It's a set neck option, which is very, very easy to get to top range of that neck. It's got the big block inlays, which I like. So it's definitely a certain aesthetic. And if you see in the light there on the headstock and also on the body, you really gotta get it in good light. But you can see a little bit of metallic finish going on. So it is a black finish, but it's got little metallic things in there, which makes it look cool. So, all right, so let's switch over to the next screen, and we have the Headrush core. So what is the deal with the Headrush core? And what's the deal with the Prime? And what's the difference between the Legacy unit? I'm calling them the Legacy units. Back in 2017, it's either really late 17 or very, very early 2018, but it was somewhere in that range where I saw, first of all, I had a full-fledged pedal board that I was putting together. I had some cool True Tone effects, overdrives. I had my Boss ES8 switcher, which I was using for a few years with all kinds of other pedal arrangements, and a Line 6 M5 for like the Line 60 kind of effects. Even though that was a one at a time type pedal. What else did I have on there? I was digging the Earthquaker Devices Avalanche Run, and I just need to find a picture somewhere and maybe do a video about it someday. But anyway, I was on the verge of, I had a pedal pad case. I was going to put it all in. Very organized, very sleek, very cool looking, very heavy. My gosh, this thing was going to be heavy. But I was on the verge of making all the cables and power, connections and all that stuff. Then I saw a video for the Line 6 HX effects. And I was like, wow, for $500 or $600, I can have literally all the effects I would ever need in like one little tiny, decent sized pedal that's not very large. You can have presets, you can have snapshots, you can have a stomp mode, so you can turn on and off different stomps at what time, just like a pedal board. So it's like a digital pedal board. It's like, wow, okay, well, forget this whole, big pedal board thing with individual pedals and power supplies and all that stuff. So I sold off pretty much all my pedals, slowly. I just didn't sell all at once, but, slowly over time, I sold each one. And then it wasn't very long after that I saw Pete Thorne demo the Headrush pedal board. And that was like, okay, it has a touchscreen, which is really neat because if you know how to use a smartphone or a tablet of any kind, then a touchscreen is just a no-brainer at this day and age in technology where we are. And let's see, what else? Yeah, so I joined a Headrush Facebook group shortly after, and there was a guy on there that knew the Gearman dude on YouTube, because Gearman dude actually runs like a store. So this guy had a Headrush that Gearman dude actually used in his video to demo the unit, and for some funny reason, he actually thought that he only had 3 parameters to adjust on the far right side of the screen. And, with those 3 knobs that comes on the pedal board. So he was selling it. He was like, this thing's not for me. I'm going to go back to my tube amp and my individual pedals and stuff. So he was selling it for like $600. And brand new at the time, I think they were $1,000 anyway. So I was like, well, I don't want to spend full money to get a brand new one. So let me just get a used one. Let me get acquainted with it. Then I can start, I could move up later if I wanted to. So I messaged the guy right away. It was like, hey, I'll pay you right now via PayPal. He told me the whole story about Gearman dude and all the things. And yeah, so he shipped it out and I started making videos with it right away. I probably was wearing this exact same shirt like 6 years ago. I don't change clothing or my wardrobe all that often, so I'm pretty sure it was this shirt. I was rocking a little bit more hair on top of my head, even though I had a big hole in my head back here, the bald area, which was the vein of my existence at this point. But I wanted the cool rock star hair. It just never happened. I think the coolest hair I had was back in high school. That was the most I had. Then around 24, I went and got a haircut. And I was like, am I thinning back there? And the female hairdresser was like, yep, you're thinning. It's like, great. I see my future already. Hey, but there's tons of rock star guys out there with no hair, and they still rock it pretty hard. So anyway, that's my whole Headrush background. Started making YouTube videos about Headrush, and that's really the birth of my channel. Was a lot of I still did other like individual pedal like shootouts and reviews and stuff like that, but I think most of my subscribers know me from being the Headrush guy and just knowing everything about it. Or, you know, I try to know everything about it and try to keep you guys up to date on the latest Headrush news and reviews and feature overviews and all that stuff. So, so if you subscribe to the channel because of Headrush, then I appreciate you and all the years of service I've been able to provide you and knowledge about cool gear. So anyway, this we got 2 people watching. We had about 5 at first, and maybe I jabbled too long, but who knows? Y'all come on in. Let's have some fun. Regardless of what Headrush you have currently, whether the pedal board, gig board, MX5, or the new Core or the Prime, these rigs will work for everything, but because there is a block difference, the Core and Prime have 14 blocks and the Legacy units have 11 blocks. I can take a rig I've made on the MX5, for instance, and load it up on the Core, but I can't take a Core rig and have it go downwards compatible to the Legacy unit. So I do have an MX5. I've sold off the gig board and the pedal board at this point because I just don't need all these devices laying around just for fun. So I do have the MX5. I can recreate the rigs on the Legacy unit, and therefore, regardless if you have the Core or Prime or the Legacy units, you can download a file that will work on your device, and you can have fun with these rigs that I create. So please, if you have any questions at all, this is what these live streams are for. But otherwise, I will start going over the rigs I have, and we'll just start from there. So let me actually, Steve Clark is in the house. What up, man? Glad to have you on. Let me zoom in on the screen just a little bit. So this is what the Core looks like. I won't be really touching the main or the phones adjustment. And pretty much everything I do is on the screen. So you can see these scribble strips here on the screen correlate to the 5 switches, physical switches on the unit. So it's really not required for me to show all that. So just for fun's sake, and let's see if I can, let's see. I'm going to go here. Let's go to autofocus. I really want a manual focus. I see. Hold on. Let me get out. I think it's pretty much in focus. There we go. Let's try this. I want to get it as in focus as I can. This is a love-hate relationship with cameras. Okay. Because if I put my hand over it, sometimes the camera will focus on my hand instead of the screen. And that's not always good. So anyway, that's going to be the best it can be at this moment. But Steve Clark says, just had a gig board for a month, got rid of it, and getting the Core here within a week or so. Very cool. Looking to buy an Impero Stage 2 unit. Okay. I've seen some good things about the Impero. It really does come down to workflow and what you're wanting to do. What are you wanting to get out of the unit? And how is that different from maybe something that you currently have? Because if you have the full-size Helix, which I know you do, Andrew, maybe you're looking for a smaller unit. But if you're going to go smaller, maybe you just want to try something totally different from another company because, you know, because we get bored and we want to try out different things and whatever. So, all right, let's look at this first rig here. What I've done and what I've been doing in the past is I will add 2 amp blocks. Okay. Now don't pay attention to the this stacked amp right here. I'll explain that in a second. But what we're doing here is, actually I was using my mouse to do that and you can't see my mouse. So here's the 2 amp blocks right here, and here's another amp block. So think of these as my clean amps, but they're actually stacked together. And then how you do that is you just choose, let me choose the Revalver amp here. If I do the ×2, it's going to double the amps. And it will actually be a stereo kind of sound in your headphones, or if you're taking the XLRs out to front of house, or using 2 FR speakers, or any kind of deal with that. I'm not going to do that with the Revalver amp right now. And I may not even try to do it with this one. Let me just take away. Let me go back down to how I had it originally. I kind of added that second amp this morning at church just to kind of play around with sound. Playing around with sound. I wish I was ready to get this really focused in, but maybe it's not. So, all right. So at this point, we have 2 amps in the rig. And I am using an IR, my Doc McFarland IR here at the end. If you want to support the channel even further, go to my link in the description of any of my videos. It's a sonicdna.com link to my Doc McFarland IR pack. Greg made a 2x12 cab recreation for me with 3 different microphones, and through each section of the IR pack, it basically goes from like greenback with 57 and 121. And you can change the balance of those microphones depending on what the sound you're going for. And then in part B is the vintage 30s with the same mics. Then you got on and off axis options and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, that's what the IRs are, but you don't have to worry about those if you don't have them. You can always just use a stock cab. And yeah, so let's keep going over this rig here. So we have the IR and the amps. Okay. How I switch between the amps is using scenes on one switch. And this is a feature that was added probably 2 firmware updates ago, I think, something like that. So what we have to do is go to the hardware icon. And if you're on the legacy unit, tap on the top right-hand corner on the 3 dots and then click on hardware assign. But on the core and the prime, the hardware assign is this little icon right here, right up there. Okay, it looks like a foot switch. Okay, so what I've done here, and I call it amp XY because I really like that terminology from the Fractal AX8, as they have XY switching, which is basically a way to have one block but have 2 different states of that block on at one time. So I just call it amp XY, but you can call it whatever you want, dual amps, or I don't care, whatever you want to call it. So you have so at this point, in order to set up a scene on Fractal, all you have to do is just go and turn on and off which ones you want in your preset, and then you just save that, and that's your scene 1. And then you go to scene 2, turn on and off whatever blocks you want, and then save that, and then you got scene 2. Well, on the Headrush, you actually have to go into, you can assign each switch to be either a scene or it can be a toggle. And on the pedal board and the prime, you have one other option. You can choose it to either be latching or momentary, or I think they call it hold maybe. But on the core, the gig board, and MX5, they have secondary functions on all the switches, so they don't really allow you to do a hold function for all that. So anyway, you go on edit, and then from here you can see that we have the Buddha comp is on. The green JRC is set to no change. So let's talk about the 3 different kinds of options we have in scenes. So on means you want that pedal to be on when you hit that switch. Off says you want it to be off when you hit the switch. So maybe it was on before and now it's off, or vice versa. And then no change means if you have the green JRC on, for instance, and you go to a different scene, then if the pedal was on during scene 1, it will stay on during scene 2 and all the other scenes because it's just no change. If I choose to turn off the green JRC when I'm on a certain scene, then when I go from scene 1 to scene 2, the green JRC will continue to be off until I turn it back on manually, essentially. So that's how that works. So if on the Headrush, you have to go in and you have to tell it, okay, I want this pedal to be on in scene 1, this pedal to be off in scene 1, scene off, scene on, all that different stuff, no change, whatever you want to do. But notice that we have status 1 and status 2. So if you go over to 2, notice that the Buddha comp is on for my my first switch state, and then it's now off for my second switch state. So what was on before is now going to be off, and what was off before is now going to be on. So it automatically, I mean, it assumes a lot of things that you mentally think about when you're setting up your preset. So it's assuming that if I had it on the first switch state, then I probably want to turn off the second switch state, maybe. Now you can force it to be on or off, whichever you want, or you can just set it to no change and have it just be no change. So that's how that works. So what I've done is on switch state 1, I have the Revalver amp off and amp on the other amp on. And then the second switch state, I have the Revalver amp on and the first amp off. So that's how I switch between two different amps with one switch on the Headrush unit. And that works the exact same way regardless on which unit I'm on. So if I have it on blue, that means I have my clean amp, and then red is my dirty amp. Okay? And these can literally be any two amps that you want, but you can't have more than 2 amps in a rig, or 2 amp blocks. Okay? Here recently, the Fender Tonemaster Pro has come out as of like last October, and you are allowed to have multiple amp heads in a single preset, and you can seamlessly and seamlessly switch between each amp head in a preset, and even between presets, which is also really cool. But what I found some limitations on the Headrush, which is not a bad limitation, but if you can only really have 2 Headrush amps, or 2 Revalver amps, or 1 Headrush amp and 1 Revalver amp, but you can't have more than just those 2 amp blocks. Okay. I think the same goes for clones. You can have like, I think you can only have 1 clone in a rig. You can have like a Headrush amp and then like a clone of an amp, but you can't have 2 clones or something. I have to remind myself. I'll make a video about it here later, but let's go ahead and check out what we have. So I do have a compressor turned on. See how it's turned off now for the drive channel, then turned back on for the clean. So there's a compressor that turns on and off. And also the graphic EQ, which I do use for a volume boost to kind of help match the volumes of my my clean and dirty amp. And that's about it. Everything else is set to no change and all that. So let's play a little bit here and you can check out the tones. I am on the bridge pickup. Okay, just a good clean sound. And then I switch over to the dirty amp. Okay, so what amps have I chosen for this certain preset? Well, this one is this is the Black Duo. So I'm really falling in love lately with the Fender Twin style amp for my clean. If you look at Metallica or Nickelback or Creed, any like heavy band, usually you'll see, especially in the past when they had like tons of different options on the road. But most of the time, you'll see like a good Fender Twin kind of clean tone, and then they'll switch over to like a Mezza Boogie or some other high gain type sound for their dirty rhythm stuff. So I'm really liking the Black Duo. I do have the bright on in this one. It does have a built-in vibrato, which I do have assigned to a switch. And the Fender Twin is known to have a very high headroom, big sound, just a big clean sound. You really have to crank it up pretty high to get any kind of grit out of it. And I like that, so I'm fine with that. You can see that I have the treble down a little bit because I do have the bright on. And then if you go to the next page, I have the bass down just a smidge. I could probably stand to bring that up a little bit, see what happens. Here's the neck pickup. Cool. I'm going to go and adjust my camera here. See if I can do that. Oh, yeah. There I am. You can see even more of me now, which is scary. Okay. Okay. So turn that back off. Let me address a comment here I saw earlier. All right, so there is a hold function on the core and other legacy units. You just can't do a momentary and a latch kind of deal. Like sometimes you want to hold down a foot switch just to turn on a flanger momentarily and then release it back off. There is a freeze pedal on the Headrush. There's other things that you would want to hold a switch down for, and you can do that with those kind of things, but there's not a momentary and a latch hold option. That's what I was kind of referring to earlier. Okay. Let's see. Steve Clark is chatting it up here. So the Stomp 2 just had a major firmware update and makes it more like the Stage 2 with the identical user interface now and some other features. Okay. So any unit that you get, it's a very good workflow to have some kind of scene option on the unit, because that essentially allows you to have one preset with all the cool stuff you want in there. Then you can either just turn things on and off by one switch, or you can sometimes also change parameters of whatever you want with the switch. Unfortunately, on the Headrush, there are block presets, but when you use them to change amps, you do get a small gap out of that. And I haven't done it for overdrives in a while. I probably just need to make a video on that, but you probably get a small gap with overdrives as well. So, but you get zero gap when you have two different blocks. You just switch between. So, for example, if I'm playing here. See? So there's no gap in there. It just keeps going seamlessly. Yep. Okay, so we're talking about different stuff. Okay, that's fine. All right, so what else do we have in here? I have also recently fallen in love with the Party Verb. Now, I did have a video that came out a few months ago basically saying that the Headrush reverbs sucked and that they were not that great. Well, actually, the reverbs themselves are fine. It's just when I compared them to other units that had more of the ethereal, ambient, kind of cool, washy kind of sounds, more modulated kind of reverb kind of sounds. The stock reverbs just don't get you there. But a few firmwares ago, they did add the party verb, which until recently I really hadn't played with a lot. But there's a lot of really cool sounds in the party verb. So what I've added here is this is the slow drip, which I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be meant to be of. But let me take a sip real fast. Yeah, lemon lime soda. Great. So here's a slow drip. Okay, you can kind of hear some harmonic chordal stuff in the background. Yeah, it's just nice. And you can bring in more high-end information by lowering the damp. Okay. Also have on at the same time, I have a cathedral reverb, which is a very nice, long, lush type reverb sound. So there's absolutely zero issues. There's really nothing wrong with the stock Air and 11 reverbs that come in the Headrush. But if you're looking more for the modulated type stuff, then check out the party verb, which will give you some other options. Okay, so just don't dog on the Headrush because it's not the Helix or it's not the Fractal, you know, whatever. I need to update my video on that because I've definitely changed my mind about. It's not like I thought that the Headrush reverbs really were bad. It's just it wasn't giving me what I thought I wanted, but really the party verb gets me a lot of the way there. There's a lot of really cool things. So, for example, if I turn back on the party verb and I go to this minor glitch is wickedly cool. So. No, that's pretty neat. So, okay, notice that the mix is at 72%. So if you take that down, you allow more dry signal to come through. So now you have this cool background movement thing going on that, I mean, if you're just a little bit creative, you can find some cool uses for a lot of these sounds. I mean, I could hear that for like a cool intro to like a whole concert, you know, or just a song in general, just, you know, playing whatever you want to play. And having all the computery kind of cool movement stuff in the background, you know. I like that. It's kind of neat. There's also things like this. Here that kind of swells in with some other intervals, like some fifths and fourths and stuff. So yeah, okay, that's enough of the party verb. You can play with that all you want. Now the last thing I will say about this preset or this rig is the SD1, the S1 drive, which is the Boss SD1. It is super killer. It's really, really good. So check this out, man. This is nice. So here's the clean tone once again, right? You know, just nice and clean. And then kick in the SD1. So I would go out on a very long limb, very short limb. I don't know which limb you want to call it. I would go out on a limb and say that is just a killer overdrive sound. It can be great for like edge of breakup kind of stuff. It can be, you can really crank the gain on it. For instance, if I crank the gain even more. So at that point, unless I'm just really wanting to go for like a certain amp overdrive kind of sound, as long as I had a clean amp in the rig and use that pedal, that would do it for me. I mean, that would get me all the way there of like, wow, this is some nice sounding overdrive I can literally use for all kinds of stuff. So and why I like it is it has the mid-range kind of presence that kind of reminds me of that Marshall-y kind of, you know, that Marshall mid-range that you just, people love Marshalls for. Because, for instance, if I take out the SD1 and I put in the anxiety overdrive, for instance, right? Turn the gain down, turn the level down. That's one thing I hate about this pedal, or at least the modeled version, is you have to turn the level down really, really far to get like your normal like balance of clean versus dirt. Come up a little bit more. Okay. Turn the gain up more. Okay, this kind of sound to me has kind of like a mid-range hump or a scoop to it. It's not humped, but it's definitely scooped. So it doesn't feel that mid-range kind of push that sometimes I want a little bit more. So if you want the mid-range thing, the scoop thing sound, then the anxiety overdrive is a pretty good option. It definitely has more high end. I'm going to take down the tone. Because this tone, the tone knob on the OCD pedal from Full Tone is a low pass filter, which means the more you turn it clock or counterclockwise, the darker it gets. So the most amount of brightness it will ever have. So if you turn it fully clockwise, and then from there, as you start taking the knob down, you're cutting high end. So. And I really don't know what they did in the modeling process, but something, they even have 2 different versions of it on the Headrush, and to me it's still not right, but whatever. But if you're okay with the quirks, then you can learn to use anything, really. So there's the Anxiety Overdrive. And then we go back to the SD1. So you hear that upper mid kind of bark sound. I think it's great. It definitely gives you a good contrast for whatever. So now if we turn the gain down and use it as a boost, going into the Anxiety Overdrive. So here's the Anxiety by itself. Yeah, I got some nice harmonics floating around there. Also, what the SD1 does, very similar to a Tube Screamer, is it tightens up your low end. So notice how the Anxiety Overdrive is kind of loose on the bottom end here. Yeah, and here's the Tube Screamer doing the same thing. So have the gain all the way down, level all the way up, tone in the middle, like your quintessential Tube Screamer setting. Okay, notice how not as much mid-range or volume is being pushed by the SD1. Okay. So that is just a very different, I'll leave both those pedals in. It's just a very different concentration on where that mid-range actually sits in the when you're pushing into the front end of the amp. It's still tightening up the low end like a Tube Screamer, but the mid-range is just slightly shifted a little bit higher. Probably if a Tube Screamer is like in 700 to 800 range, probably SD1 is more like, 9 to 1K, maybe, just kind of slightly shifted higher. So I find it very interesting. It's very interesting. Let's see here. Can you show the selection of new amps that are available on the core? I think it's from Revalver. Yeah, all the new amps. Let's actually make a new. Let's make a new preset here. What am I doing? Okay, so we're gonna go to plus, and now we have a brand new blank screen, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and add in. Let's do a Revalver cab. So cab IR, cab Revalver. And let's go with the retro 4x12 because we can. Okay. Let's put on a, what do we have? Do we have a 906 4060? That's a Coles 4060. MD421, U87. So this is an SM7B microphone and all that. All right, so now we'll go here, go to amp, go to Revalver. So we have the Blues Maker, because it's pretty much like a blues breaker. I think it's a blues breaker. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay, so like that. We can go to model. We can change it to a Fox AC30, which is the Vox AC30. Okay. Now this right here, this is a bassman head. But notice how we have a bass version and we have a guitar version. So I'm going to use the guitar because I'm playing guitar. And we'll need to crank the volume up here. Okay. Flat Hill Dual. That's a dual rec kind of deal. Okay, I'm actually not. Don't want to mess around with that cab. I just want to do a Headrush cab. Do the 2x12 greenback with the 409 on. Actually, the 409 is fine. I'm okay with that. Let's do. Something like that. Okay. Okay, so here's the normal channel. Here's the clean. But you'll have to go and adjust gain settings and all the stuff. Okay. Modern channel, the normal, vintage. You have all the same stuff on the Headrush version. But you do have way more PV stuff because this is Revalver is a PV product that Ambient Music took over or acquired somehow. So all the classic PV stuff you'd ever want is in here. Here's the Classic 30 Channel 1. And it has its own built-in reverb, which is cool. I want to turn that down. Okay, I like that. Here's a Channel 2. Now, oh, not the bass, but the reverb. If I remember correctly, I think Channel 2 is actually the clean channel, and Channel 1 was the Overdrive channel. So, but that doesn't mean you couldn't crank the normal channel. Because you can. And you go back to Channel 1. Yeah, it's definitely darker. Has more of a, here's a boost. I like all that. It's pretty cool. All right. You do have a diesel. You have the 3 diesel channels on here, which sound killer. These things sound great. There's a mid-cut option on here. Intensity. Cool stuff. Keep forgetting. Red Hot AD30. There's your orange AD30 channel 1 and 2, which you have the same amp in. You have the same amp on the Headrush option. Now on that dual dock rig I showed you, I was using the PV6505 for that, and these things are just brutal. Some cool stuff there. They got the plus. All the things. PV3120, which is another variation on a PV amp. There's just all kinds of fun stuff. The PV Masterpiece, the Sensation. They got the Buddha stuff in there. The rhythm and the drive. You really just have to go through and play around with it. But you got the Angle Powerball. Which you do have the same amp in the Headrush version as well. The PV Triple X, my gosh. All kinds of fun stuff. Let's turn down there's the volume. One very important distinction that you really need to pay attention to on the Headrush is the volume here is an actual master volume on the amp. If the amp actually has a master volume. And what that's doing is you are pushing more power amp saturation. So it's not a volume like a fader on a mixing board kind of volume, which Fractal, Tonemaster Pro, Helix does have that on their amp models, which is great. And I really, 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 really want Headrush to add that feature, because I want to be able to find the tone I want on the amp and then just turn it up or turn it down. Okay. I don't want to have to use a master volume or use a graphic EQ or some other, clean boost pedal after the amp to adjust the amp volume. Especially if I'm doing dual amp type stuff in one rig. So please, Headrush, please, please, please add that. It's been years, seriously, at this point. And then you got the Valve King stuff, which is also really awesome. Really good. That also has its own reverb. Where's that reverb at? Let's turn that down. So I'm not going to say that these are amazingly better than the stock Headrush amps. They're just different. You got all the PV stuff in there now, which is really cool. So let's check the comments here. And Steve Clark says thanks. Okay, great. All right, so let's see what other questions you have, and I'll go ahead and I'll go back and review some of the other rigs I have here. All right. So if I go to rig and kind of slide down, I can go all the way to the bottom here. These do go in alphabetical order. Yeah, they're in alphabetical order for sure. So I go to my dock area. Okay. So here's like a dock rec twin. So this is like dual rec with the Fender twin in it. A Vintage King, whatever the PV thing. Okay, see what we got here. So we got the Tweed Deluxe, and that's not the name at all. VKCL. Anyway, it's all good. So this has the Mesa Boogie M2 lead on there, which is known for being very scoopy sounding. Okay, let's try a different one. The PV one right here. This is actually really good. And I'll include this one in the download. All right, so what I've chosen here is the 51.2 clean and lead channels. And what's very important with the clean is you have to have the post volume down pretty far. Otherwise, you're going to get more gain, more saturation out of the power tubes, and you're not going to get clean enough. So you have to bring it down. Okay. Now, one thing I haven't done on this rig is I hadn't set it up for scenes. Let's go ahead and do that. let's see here. I can clone with the mic or with a direct out from an amp. That would be better in your opinion. I have done cloning, and it can be worthwhile if you like that process. I do have a Headrush clones pack on the website if you want to download that and support the channel. And it's only $20, and I will be cloning more things here pretty soon of some other cool gear that I have that I can clone with. Yeah, so whether you use a microphone or you're using a direct out of a amp or a modeler or a plug-in, you can literally capture anything, any kind of sound you want. And yeah, capture anything you want. And it works good. So I wouldn't say I go out of my way to use clones all the time, just because I do like the stock models on the Headrush. It's fine with me. Like that sound right there, my gosh, is really, really good. So, all right, on the core, you have a bank A and B button over here, which I know you can't see. You can see it if I do this kind of thing. Bring out the zoom a little bit. Okay, so we got bank A and B. So if I hold this, it's going to go to my second bank. Okay, and this allows you to have. This is actually really, really cool. So if you want to set up 20 scenes on one rig, you can do that. Okay. On the core, wow, I just cracked my voice. On the core, or even the pedal board at this point, because you have the switch state, you can essentially double the amount of, not double, yeah, you can switch the double amount of scenes you can set up. I can't talk, wow. Another drink of this lemon lime non-alcoholic drink here. All right, so switch 1 can have 2 scenes, and then 2 scenes, 2 scenes, 2 scenes, and then 2 scenes. So that's 5 times 2 is 10. Then I go to the other bank, and I can have 10 more scenes. Okay? So let's count. That's actually 20 in total. Okay, 20 total scenes. If I had 8 switches to choose from, I would actually do slightly less, because that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. How would that work? Seems like it'd be less. Seems like it would be more if you had 8 switches. I think on the core, you can actually get more scenes out of it, because you have 5 switches here that you can essentially turn into 10 switches total. But on the core and the pedal board, you only have 8 switches. And there's no bank AB kind of thing. So really the core, I mean, you can get more out of the core technically than even the bigger prime pedal board, which is very interesting. I didn't think about that till now. But there's my caveat here. Here's a caveat. I really like having a tap tempo on at all times, or being able to access a tap tempo at all times. So I usually leave the last switch doing my tap tempo. But the other caveat to that is, in my hardware assigned, you can see here's my A and here's my B. You can't double. Let me just try it. You can't double the tap tempo. Like you can't have 2 of them, for instance. See, it's not coming up in the list because I already have it. Assigned. So that means I'd have to switch. If I was in a bank that didn't have the tap tempo, I'd have to switch to the other bank to set the tempo and then switch back. So that's That's really the main thing. So what I would do is I would probably leave, bank A as my core, as my always primarily use always bank. So I can have my tap tempo over there, and I have four switches here with up to 2, 4, 6, 8 scenes on one bank. And if I really, really, really had to access more sounds, I could just go to my bank B. Then I can have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I can have another 10 scenes on this one, or any combination of scenes and stomps. So I could have like 4 scenes on these 2 switches, and then stomp, 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 or something like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this up on this amp switch, because I don't need to toggle the amp on and off. I want to actually set it to a scene. So let's go through the scene process here. See what I can do. Let's check the comments. And we're still good. Okay. And I've been going for about an hour. So I will show how to set up a scene or some scenes on this one. And then we'll call that a night. Okay. So you'll have the Doc Dual rig that I started with, and then you'll have this PV one, which is going to be really cool. So, all right, at this point, you can see we have no change set to all of them. Okay. And this first amp is the clean amp. So I want this to be on, and then amp 2 is going to be off. I want the IR to be on. The graphic EQ is going to be on. Okay. My party verb is going to be off. My delay is going to be off. My reverb is going to be on. Or I could set that to be no change, actually. And then the green JRC is going to be off. The white boost is going to be off. And then the SD1 is going to be off. Okay. So now when I go to my second switch state, the first amp that was on is now off, and so forth. So I want my IR to be on, my graphic EQ to be on. Party verb is going to still be off. Though I can technically leave that on no change, but I'm not going to do that for now. My delay, let's have that be on. My reverb is going to be no change. My green JRC is going to be off. White boost is going to be off. SD1 is going to be off. Okay. So now if I go change the name here, this is going to be my amp XY. Okay. Let's go back into the edit, and let's make sure my switch state 1 is set to blue and my 2 is set to red. That's usually the colors I choose for all that. And then we'll go back out and we'll hit save. So now on this one switch, you can see I got blue, and it's nice and clean. Okay. If we look at the settings one more time, I do have the pre-gain up pretty high, about 48%, but my post volume is down in that 26% range. I could add some presence, depending on what you're wanting to do. You can take the resonance up and down, whatever. Okay, this is not a Revalver amp, by the way, so in order for it to be fair to the legacy people that don't have the Revalver stuff, which they're not ever going to have, because you have to upgrade to the core or the prime to get that stuff, unless Headrush drastically changes something in the firmware to allow the legacy units to have the Revalver stuff. That's just the way it is. So my reverb is not on. Let's go and find out why that is. Okay, because there's no change. So I need to turn the reverb on. And when I do that and I save it, I'll be able to have some nice reverb there. Let's go to Rich Hall. We're turning the decay down, turn the mix down pretty far. Okay, I do have tails on, which means when you bypass the effect keeps going, which is what you want. And then now that I have that pedal on, I go to my other scene or my other switch state. You can see that the reverb stayed on because I had it set to no change. So if the pedal is on, it won't stay off. It won't go to a different state when I go to a different scene. So that's how that works. And my goodness, that is a sound of glory. So let me check something here. Let me check the EQ. And if it's actually doing anything. So it is boosting the gain just slightly on the clean. Okay, so I think I do want it on for the dirt, but not for the clean. So on my first switch state here, I'm going to turn the graphic EQ off. And on the second one, it will be on. So, and I really just have that on for balancing the volumes because Headrush has not included an actual channel volume like the Helix has or the Fractal has or pretty much any other unit at this point. So all right, so here's the clean again without the graphic EQ. Then here's the overdrive channel. Okay, and what is cool about any EQ is you can not only raise or lower the volume, you can also adjust the overall tonal balance. Actually moving some sliders up and down. So I do have some of the 200 and 400 cut out. If I brought that back up, also have the 1K and 3.2K boosted a little bit. This is based on a preset called Post Amp Sculpt. I just kind of adjusted it and made it my own. But it sounds good. So there's just a clean amp. And then the overdrive amp. It sounds thick. It sounds juicy. It gets the job done. Okay. So that is actually two sounds on one switch, and it works pretty well. Okay. Now from here, that could be my dryer type stuff, right? Well, let's just say I want to go in and I want to have a clean and a dirty, but the dirty sound, I don't want to have the reverb on just yet. I would still want it to be nice and dry, other than having the reverb on. Okay. All right. Now from here, I might want to go in and say on this IR here, which I'll go ahead and let me go ahead and make this a stock cab for those that don't have my IR pack. I really just like the B30 cab. It just works. It's not as big as my IR, which if you want to go support me, you can go get my IR if you want. But okay, Dyne 7 works great for that. So, okay, it still sounds good. All right, so now we have the option to go to the second switch and make that a scene. Edit on the first switch state. We're going to have amp 1 on, amp 2 off. Okay, but this time we're going to turn on the SD1. Okay, let's turn all these off here. So notice that the first two scenes had these pedals set to no change. Well, now in this one, I'm actually forcing it to be either on or off. Okay, so regardless of how the status is on the previous two scenes, I can totally change that to be something different on this one here. So my cab is going to be no change because I'm not turning that on or off. My graphic EQ is going to be off. My party verb is going to be off. Actually, the party verb, that could be on. Just make this one really like bouncy and ethereal something, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, this should be fine. We can change this however we want. And then, actually, no, let's do it this way. Let's do the party verb is going to be off for that one, but the SD1 is going to be on. And then on the second switch state, see, in this case, I don't want my amp 2 to automatically be turned on, so I'm going to have to go back. But party verb is going to be on. Delay is going to be on. 11 verb is going to be on. And my SD1 is going to be on. And my white boost is going to be off. So this seems a little slower than maybe other ways of doing it, but it's not too bad. It's not bad at all. Checking everything. All right, so this is going to have the party verb be on or off, which is going to be fun. And we'll call this, we'll just call this wet XY. So we either have the option to have, see that? Let's go change the colors too. I forgot to change the colors. So go back in the edit, go to the first switch state. We'll have this one be either yellow or orange. How about that? Okay. We'll turn the drive down on this one. Okay, so this gives me the ability to go from that clean sound to my still clean amp, but with the SD1 on now. Okay, let's raise the tone, raise the volume. So like that. And then I can go into my more wet state. Okay, we'll go adjust this kind of stuff. We'll go back to my slow drip sound. Maybe raise the damp so to cut down on some of the highs. Kind of barely there in the background. Cool. Let's go to our delay here. Make sure the tails are on. Turn that mixed up just a little bit. Put the delay before the verbs. Okay, so at this point we have 4 scenes across 2 switches. And depending on how important those second switch states are, you might want to put them across the first, the first switch state on 4 different switches. Or if you want to have, just 2 scenes on one, 2 scenes on the other, then have the last 2 switches be actual stomps, then that might be a good option for you, especially if you only turn on the overdrive, like the green JRC, every once in a while. Maybe you liked everything about that one certain scene, but you wanted to turn off one of the pedals momentarily, and then just turn it back on. You can add the party verb to here. So let's actually do that, because there's not a whole lot going on in here. And we can also go to the bank B to access the white boost, some other things in here. So let's actually go to hardware assign. And let's make the JRC be on this switch and the party verb be right here. Yeah. Let's do this. I need to back over here. Okay, so my JRC is on that switch. So I can add some of that mid-range kind of push. Okay, something's going on here. That tail is on. My party verb tails was not on. So notice this is very important as well. If I turn this party verb on, and I turn it off, it's going to cut off the sound because I did not have the tails turned on. Okay, that's one of the things you had to learn, especially back in 2018 when I first had my first pedal board, was if you wanted the tails to keep going, you had to turn on that function for every reverb and delay that you put in. It's no different than any other. It is no different from any other unit. That's exactly what you still have to do, the same kind of thing. So it's not special. It's just something you have to remember to do. So you really have to, you got to put yourself into the mindset of what do you actually do in a song. Like today is a great example. At church, we played Rejoice, which is kind of this cool, like kind of rocky, kind of up-tempo kind of number. And I literally just had a Fender Twin and an SD1 kind of set the higher gain. And that was my sound, like the whole song, pretty much. I didn't need the party verb for that song. I didn't need, tons of other things. I might have a little bit of delay going, but not a whole lot. And that's what I needed for that song. Okay. So sorry, that Coke is getting to me. You have to really look at your set list and determine in this rig, what do I actually use? And what is going to allow me to get to those tones the quickest and the easiest way possible? Okay. So if you need just a good clean and a good rhythm sound from 2 different amps and you want to put those on the same switch, then you just do the cool, switch state thing for the scenes on one switch. And there's a a dry, clean sound with a little bit of reverb. I call it dry because it didn't have like all the delay and other kind of like other things you would want in there, right? Okay, and then you switch over to your heavier amp. I mean, I often look at, especially when I'm in my metal phase of the week, where I was just listening to like metal bands like Norma Jean, Zayo, Extol, tons of metal bands out there. But I have my favorites. You might have your favorites. But if you really, especially when you watch their music videos or live performances, you don't see them switching. Sorry, you don't see them switching sounds every other measure or every other section of the song. It's just like, here's my really high gain sound. I'm literally keeping the same tone through the whole stinking song, right? So really at that point, you can make a very simple rig on the Headrush, and that can just be your sound. If you really had to have a song where you had a clean tone with maybe some ambient stuff, I mean, shoot, just have one switch with your high gain amp sound, have your second switch with your clean ambient type sound for maybe a bridge section, and that's your existence as a metal hard rock band guitar player. Now, if you're more into the progressive, alternative rock kind of stuff, you might want to have some other kind of tones, like you want a basic clean tone, you want a basic overdrive amp sound. But then you might want to have a chorus on a guitar part for a certain sound of a song. Or you might want to have some cool like dotted eighth delay kind of something going on. Just depending on whatever you're doing. So it's very easy for me, it's easy to make rigs just willy-nilly. Because I don't play in a band anymore. I mainly just play at church. And I mean, the matter of fact, it was most of the time, the kind of sounds we need for those songs they're either straight up hymnal type things. They're just very, very clean, but slightly modernized. So it's okay if I have a little bit of reverb, a little bit of delay on those. But for the most part, it's like, as long as I have a clean tone, and I have a way to kick in an overdrive, like an SD1 or a Anxiety Overdrive or Green JRC or something to give me more gain and more boost, then that's the brunt of all I need for the vast majority of things I do at church. And then if I'm producing an album for a band or an artist, I can dial in whatever sounds I want based on their songs. But yeah, really, really look down inside yourself, look inside your heart here, and really just write down like, okay, here's my set list. And maybe you break it down per song. Like, these are the tones I need for these 10 songs in my set list. And how many of those tones actually overlap? I mean, do you use the same kind of gain sound for every song? Right? I mean, or do you use the same kind of clean tone for every song? I think the issue with modeling nowadays, I probably need to make a separate video on this kind of topic, but just kind of wrap things up here, because we still got two people talking, or two people watching, but not a whole lot of questions. So maybe you just enjoy listening to me talk, but I don't know, whatever. The issue with modeling is this. You have literally everything at your fingertips, and that is the issue. If you're playing in a band at a bar or a club or any kind of venue, and you actually had a physical amp rig or physical guitar rig, you want to be switching from a Fender Deluxe to a Mesa Boogie Dual Rec to a PV whatever. I mean, you would literally just have that one amp, maybe have a pedal board, like a few different overdrive options, and some delay and reverb, and maybe a tremolo or like a phaser or something, and that would be it. right? You are so limited on what you can access, and that might be a good thing because you don't need everything under the sun to get a great guitar tone and make the music that you want to make in your band or your cover band or whatever you're doing, right? Now, cover bands are slightly different because, because you could be covering Van Halen at one point and then Diana Ross at the next song, right? So you might want to have access to different types of amps in a Mahler, and that's perfectly fine. But for the other vast majority of players out there, I mean, look at a country setup. You got a Fender Deluxe or a Fender Twin. You got some kind of overdrive pedal and a little slapback delay and some reverb, and that's about it. You don't really need a whole lot more than that to play the classic country type stuff. Yeah, so I understand it's going to be different for each player out there for each different situation, but really just try to break it down to its simplest form, especially when you're working with any kind of Mahler, and just ask yourself, okay, what do I need for this song? What's the least amount of things I can put in a rig that would allow me to play this song? And that's just what you got to go for. So for me right now, if I were to use this PV Rocks rig at church, I'd be like, all right, here's my clean tone. I can use this for a little, How Great Thou Art kind of thing. And down, down, down. Down, 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 right? Just very simple, straight up, classic gospel hymnal type stuff, not a lot of crazy stuff. But if I want to go in and add in a party verb, I can add that in and go in just like, then sings my soul, my Savior to thee. Getting like more of an ethereal ambient kind of sound going. Stuff like that. So, I mean, there's some cool things you can do while still keeping it very, very simple. Now, I do like, if I do play at church, I do like having some kind of tremolo in there somewhere, which is why choosing the Fender Twin or the Deluxe or the Princeton or any of those Fender amps, because they do come stock with the vibrato channel built in. And then you can just add that vibrato to a switch, or you can set them up in a scene to where I can have, let's say instead of the J or C being right there, I could just set up a scene to where I have my clean amp with some tremolo and still have the ability to kick in like a party verb or, something or whatever. So, yeah, all kinds of cool different options there. I may even go as far as saying maybe on this one, on the first switch, I could have a clean sound. Then when I hit again, I turn on my tremolo, and that would work. And then for my second switch, I can have my clean amp with the SD1 on. And then kicking it over with more delay and more party verb. Because the tremolo sound is not something I get to all the time, nor is it something that I go straight from a overdrive with lots of delay type sound to straight to a tremolo. It's usually I'm already on a clean sound, and now I just want to kick in a tremolo or whatever that is. So I've been going for an hour and 32 minutes at this point, but I'm having fun. So if you want to ask some questions, I'm fine with keeping going. But you guys got to talk in the comments here, because otherwise, I don't know if you think I'm boring or what's going on. But you got to, communicate with me. So, no questions out of the order, okay? But yeah, so at this point I can say, okay, switch 3. Switch 3 could be my heavy amp sound, and then if I hit it again, I go into my lead sound with a tube screamer and more delay, right? So let's actually do that. Let's just go and have some fun. So we are going to add these amps. I'm going to put the cab on the very end here. For all those people that are used to the alt output method, that basically says that you are setting the output source to the cab input. So all the full rig is going until you get to that cab input, and then it's going to turn off the cab and not send the cab when you go to the effects return of an amp or something like that. If so, you can take your XLRs to the front of house with the full rig, and then the 1/4 inch output is being sent to the effects return of an amp or a power amp of some sort without the cab in there. So that's why you would want to put the cab last in your chain. Let's go make some room for a tremolo sound, because that's what I do. And we're going to do a tremolo, just basic thing here. So, and we're going to have to adjust it. Okay, I could turn the sync off and set this to a certain rate, which I kind of like that. Okay, so that works for me. So we're going to have to go reassign some of these here. So back to hardware assign, edit. And we're going to have amp 1 on, amp 2 off. Tremolo is going to be off on this one. And then we're going to go to the switch weight 2, turn back on amp 1, turn back off amp 2, and turn on the tremolo. So everything else is stayed the same except for the tremolo thing. And we're going to edit this to call this, so trim O. This is a dumb way to say it, but we'll just call it trim. Okay. I might rename it later if I feel cute. I'm not sure. Okay. So there's that one. And then this one still has the same SD1. Yeah, I don't need the EQ on that one, though. Right? So let's go back into edit. And I don't want the EQ on that one. Okay. We're good. Okay, Okay, going over to my other one. Okay. And then this one here is going to be my my overdrive amp. So turn this amp off. Turn this amp on. Tremolo is going to be off. Bucket Brigade is going to be off. Party Verb is going to be off. EQ is going to be on. 11 Verb is going to be on. Cab is going to be on for sure. And we got that. And then I'm going to set this over. I got to change my amps. But this time my delay is going to be on. Party Verb is still going to be off. Graphic EQ is going to be on. 11 Verb is going to be on. Cab is going to be on. And I'm going to turn on the JRC for this one. And switch state 1 is going to be, we'll do purple and dark purple. Why not? And I probably need to name this. I'm a professional, folks. Don't worry. Okay, so amp. We'll call this rhythm lead. Stuff like that. Actually, I'll rename this one too. So this makes it. This is gonna make more sense. Clean. So I actually name what I have in them. Then this one is gonna be rhythm ambient. Okay, so it's gonna make more sense. And I can still have the option to turn on off the party verb if I want, or whatever. All right, so let's go through this so we can make sense of it all after I take a sip. The function. What function? As far as the, okay, let's talk about this. As far as the microphone and being able to use effects with that, I know nothing on what it can. Oh, yeah, you just plug a microphone in and then add all kinds of effects to it, whatever you want. Okay, there'll be a separate video coming up very soon. But I've already done some things on other videos on my channel with the built-in mic, so just check that out. Do you have a preference between using the stock Headrush cabs versus the IRs? I have the Doctor McFarland IR pack from Sonic DNA, and I do like the sound of that pack. I think it sounds slightly more fuller than the stock Headrush cabs. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't add an EQ after the cab and kind of change the sound, more of what I want. I think basically it's missing some low mid, like kind of oomph and some presence there. So, but if I'm going to use a stock cab, excuse me, this Coke is not agreeing with me. I do like the, any of these last four right here. We got the Vintage 30, the 65 watt, the Greenback 25 watt, and the Greenback 20 watt. They all sound really good in their own right. I did a live stream a few months ago about comparing all these kind of deal. Here's a 25 watt Greenback. They just sit differently in the mid-range. Okay, stuff like that. So I do like the 2x12 B30. So So you just have to go in and kind of compare which one you want. But at this point, though, I do need to notice that my gain is pretty low. Let's just raise this up. Because I want to make sure I get as close to that 0 mark as possible. Oh, crap. Why am I only in the right ear? Oh, man. That makes no sense. What's going on here? What is happening? I'm only coming out of one output. And I do not know why. Let me go check a global setting here real fast. Audio, guitar output. No, that is on. So that shouldn't matter. I have no idea. So I'll go back and I'll put this on rig width 0. I probably just need to restart the unit, but I'm not sure what's going on there, so it's fine. Crap. All right, let's go fix this second state here. So we're going to turn the white boost off, SD1 off, tremolo off. And check the first one. Check that one. Okay, now we're better. So here's the light purple is just the PV dirt channel. Okay, let's deal with this delay here. Put on like a core note delay. Wow, where am I at? There we go. Then I can tap it in. And I actually, let me do this. I actually like the dyne delay a little bit more because it allows me to do something like this. So changing the ratio takes the core note delay and actually allows me to have, I really want to know what's going on with this rig width. I'm not sure. But anyway, it allows me to have a core note on the left side and then a dotted eighth on the right with only using one delay block. So but now since I've changed something in my rig, I have to go back and check my scenes. So I want these to be off, that to be off. Then go here, this to be off, but now this to be on. And then go here, this to be off, and this to be on. Bada bing. So that was not too bad. Okay. Check these settings one more time. So here's my clean. Clean with tremolo. And then rhythm ambient. Crap. Why is the tremolo still on? Stop it. Okay. Turn that off. Turn that off. So this is why you need to go check all your stuff. Go check it all. And then rhythm lead. Rhythm. Then lead. Now, depending on what you're doing, that delay might be too much. So you can just go turn down the mix, whatever you want. Okay. Notice how all my blocks are the normal looking one. Normal looking one. It's the classic rig page graphics. If I set it to modern, now you actually get the actual how they look in real life kind of deal. Let me change this. Let me zoom it in. Whoa. Stuff like that. Okay. So now if you like seeing the cool looking graphics, you can do that on the Core and the Prime. You can't do that on the Legacy units. But honestly, I don't care. I mean, I'm fine with seeing the classic blocks in there. Perfectly fine to me. But if you're really a big stickler on seeing all the cool graphics, then you just got to go to Rig Graphics, Modern, and then there it is. Okay. So here's what a green JRC looks like, a white boost looks like, a SD1 looks like, tremolo looks like. Now the graphic EQ and the delay and reverb, those are just normal. You know, they don't have a look. They're more like rack unit, kind of effect unit type studio stuff. All right, now at this point, across the three switches on the first switch state, I have a good clean sound. I have a clean with a SD1. And then I have my rhythm. Okay, pretty cool stuff, right? If I really wanted to have a delay right here instead of a party verb, you know, I could do that. I could essentially go recreate these three scenes on the second bank and then just maybe have another option there on the second switch state just for any little thing I think I might want to need for that. You know, like a boost or something, or I don't know, whatever else I'd want on there. But the thing is, I only can have a tap tempo on one of my banks. I can't have it on both bank A and B because you can't reassign the tap tempo thing for some stupid reason, which is fine. I do like that you can have the looper always available, which is neat. What's going on here? We have something playing in here. Let me go to my global settings, my audio. I have a looper. Where's the output for my looper? That is funny. Let's see what's going on with my looper here. Looper. Weird. Add a track to get started. James Edward. Let's see what this does. Okay, there's that. So it's playing. But where's the loop coming from? Interesting. Oh, let's click on that. I don't know. I should be having a, so there's a looper. No, that's more like the, it's more like the practice tool. This is the practice tool. Okay, so I've actually assigned the switch somehow to the practice tool. So that's what I need to look for in the global settings. I need to find audio, mic dry out, level out. Huh. Sorry, I'm learning something new right now. So reassign looper foot switch. I have it set to practice. But for some reason, the practice tool is not outputting where I want, and I'm not quite sure why that is. Wi-Fi, USB audio, MIDI, expression pedal, info. Yeah. Okay. I am not sure exactly what's going on. That's fine. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's good. Now, if I went live streaming, I could easily do all that within just a matter of minutes, which I've actually figured out what I want to do in the preset or the rig, but it's still all pretty easy. Francis is in the house. What is up? Mike Irwin is in the house. Yo. Yes, we got Tom there. We got Mike Irwin. Looks good, sounds good. You look good and sound good. Graduating from Berkeley, my friend. That's pretty big accomplishment there. It's really cool. Okay. Let's see what else. Francis is in the house. Yep. Doing good. Tom says, I have yours SDA IRs as well as many others. They are great. I just find myself never trying stock cabs. Thanks for sharing all your knowledge with the HR. Yep, you're welcome. Stock cabs are really good if that's the kind of sound you're going for. But to me, they do lack some of the low mid kind of, the gravy, if you will, the low mid gravy. I have no idea what I just said. I am doing good. I took a good nap this afternoon. I kind of stayed up pretty late the last few nights. I do have a drum set over here. The Alesis Strata Prime from Zounds.com. They sent it over for me to review. And I will do a review, do a whole video series on it. And then I will return it because it's actually a slightly bigger set than what I actually have space for here in my room. I really don't want to rearrange my room any more than I have to because I've already rearranged it like 3 or 4 times in the last year. And I'm just kind of done rearranging. So I'm allowing it to live in my room at the moment, but it's definitely need to go back. Now, if you have the space for a Alesis Strata Prime and it works for your situation, it is so far of what I found, is an excellent electronic drum kit that you can get all kinds of cool sounds from, do some recording with, do some silent practicing, or setting up at a band practice kind of deal. Especially if you're all using maulers or in-ears or something, then the Strata Prime or any other electronic drum kit for that matter would work really well for those kind of situations. And then when you go play out live, you can use your real acoustic kit and do all the cool like rock star stuff. But just for practicing and arranging and writing and recording, having fun, making music, electronic kit is definitely the way to go. Especially if you live in a house next to a bunch of neighbors and they don't want to hear you playing drums at 2 o'clock in the morning. Electronic kit is definitely a good option. Thankfully, I'm in a detached garage of my house, so separate from my house, and I live on a cul-de-sac. So I can kind of make as much sound as I want within reason, past, within certain times of the day where everyone's not trying to sleep and whatnot. But yeah, I can make some good noise up here if I want to. All right, let me rename this one here. So Doc, we're going to do Doc PV HTS April 24. Rename. Okay. So we have repurposed this rig for our purposes of repurposing and for our purposes of learning how to set up scenes, dial in different things, and also just have a better mindset of what you actually need for a gig or a recording session. Let me go to the other one now. So if I go to rig, actually if I pull down and search for Doc, Doc Duo, I will rename this one. See what happens here. See, that's on a rig with 100%. There's something going on with that other rig, but it doesn't matter. So now, unfortunately for this one, this does have a Revalver amp in there. So this is a 6505 model. But if you wanted to put a, let's just say, for example, I mean, I really like this amp, but let's just say, for example, I put in, crap, I'm going to have to do something here. We'll have to delete it. Sorry, we have to delete this one. And then we'll bring in real fast, we'll bring in a Headrush amp. And it will be the amp of all amps. It'll be a Bogner. It'll be a Bogner. Because it's for fun. Okay, let's go into our XY edit real fast. And amp 2 is going to be on. That one's off, and this one's off, and that one's on. And everything else should be about the same. Okay, so that's not too bad. And I will, I do have my Doctor McFarland IR in here, which is the CH Doc Greenback 421 off axis and 121 down 50%. But I will change this over to a stock cab real fast. Headrush, and we'll do the 2x12. I really like the 409 microphone here lately. And this sounds fine. You know, it sounds good. I want that signal to be right below that 0 mark right there. Okay. Check it before you wreck it. And actually for this one, I may not need the graphic EQ on as much. I only have like 2 dB gain boost. Let's do turn on for the overdrive. So let's go change this one more time here. So on this state, I want this EQ to be off, but on the second state, I want it to be on. So let's try that one. So blue is clean. And then red. Dial in some sounds here. Let's turn the volume down on this. Okay. Just checking volumes here. I'm actually sorry. Let's go back. Let's change this EQ. That one's going to be off, and then this one's going to be on. So I feel like the clean tone can be a little bit louder in volume compared to let's actually just turn that part down. I do want to raise some mid-range on this just slightly. Using the SD1 as a boost overdrive, and then the vibrato from the clean amp. Okay, so rename this one. This is going to be Doc Duo HTS April 2024. Actually, just 24. 24. Okay, so I know I don't have tons of rigs for this to be downloaded, but there's a lot in here that you can play with, and being able to turn on, switch between 2 different scenes on the same switch, and then add in your SD1, your delay, some vibrato. I mean, honestly, this is the rig I used today at church. And it worked great, so. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Man. That sounds good. Yeah, honestly, all the Revalver stuff is very cool. I mean, it's fun to play with, but the stock Headrush amps, they still sound really good. They still sound really good. You can't knock them for anything. I mean, they just, the sound is there. So if you have any issues with dialing in tones, why? Why do you have issues? Because if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm not doing anything special. But yeah. I like it. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back one more time. I'm going to change this EQ to be on. Then on the first one, it's going to be off. How about that? And then adjust this amp slightly. Let's turn the bright off. I do have the mids turned up all the way on this, which I could bring that down. I don't know if that changes a whole lot. Yeah. That's cool, man. That is cool. I could also boost a little bit of volume on this. See, getting in that 60 to 70% range is still staying very clean. The only difference is you're probably adding just a little bit of muscle to the sound, which you will need to compensate for by bringing down the rig volume. And then that's where you use the graphic EQ for the drive sound to bring that volume up slightly to match the clean volume. Okay, folks, I'm pretty happy with all that. That's with a stock cab, stock Headrush amplifiers, no Revalver stuff. We actually do have a Buddha comp in there, but I could use the Dyne comp for that. Then you still have the option if you want to go back over here. Let's do the hardware assign. Let's see here. Let's bring in our Anxiety Overdrive on this one. What do we have? Ooh, I got an auto swell on there. So I could set up a... I could very well set up a... Instead of a Dyne delay right there, which I do like turning on and off, I do like the auto swell stuff, so... Oh. Let's do our slow drip sound. Yeah. So you can take your knowledge of setting up scenes if you want to go in and do an ambient kind of patch or ambient scene, you can do that, but all the sounds are there at your disposal. And I heard the party verb get turned off abruptly, so let's make sure the tails are on for that. Always make sure the tails are on. How about this one? The tails are off on that one. Man, I'm slacking here. Tails are on for that one. Okay. I don't know, guys. This might be my ride or die right here. Honestly, for 99% of what I do, having some clean with some overdrive, some vibrato, some delay, then being able to kick in some kind of like cool amp overdrive, that's me. That's what I do right there. That is what I do all the time. All the time. All right, we're getting long in the tooth here. We're going about 2 hours, 13 minutes. But I do appreciate everyone watching and participating. And if you're catching the live stream later, then go ahead and leave a comment down in the comment section, and I can address anything that I see in a future video. So I got the Canon 90D over here as my main view. I got the Canon N50 over here on my Headrush core. Then I'm using Ecamm Live for all my live streaming, and I'm using the Orion Studio Synergy core that I also got from Zounds.com as a review unit, but I like it so much I think I'm going to keep it. So it's working out really, really good. I have lots of options for amp inputs or just signal inputs, micro line. Then I can add effects to my my voice and stuff like that. So it's making the live stream sound really good, which I'm happy about. So y'all let me know how everything sounds, and appreciate any comments, any feedback. Anything you can send my way as far as the quality of the videos and the live streams. And I always look to make things better if I can, and all that. So, all right, guys, Headrush Core or Headrush Prime or any of the legacy units, if you have one, you have a wealth, you have a gold mine of tones is waiting to be harnessed. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. So if you're looking at other units, that's perfectly fine. There's tons of great units out there. But if you have a Headrush, you should be proud because it does everything you'd ever wanted to do. And it sounds good doing it. So very cool. All right, we will see you guys here very soon. I need to sit down. Probably tomorrow night I'll sit down with the camera and this Headrush core and shoot some more footage to be released for the month of May. So be on the lookout for that. And I will finally get to the tonal analysis course. I got some bands I got on my list. I'm going to recreate some tones for some classic bands. And I recently got an email from a guy that was requesting some certain kind of tones from certain songs. So I'll be addressing those in the month of May. And thank you for everyone who has purchased the Headrush bundle and have been waiting on the tonal analysis portion of that to be started. So it will be starting here in May, and we're going to have fun with that. And so any request you have for songs or bands you want me to recreate on the Headrush pedal board or the Headrush units, then I will be doing that here very soon. So, all right, guys, y'all have a great night, great week, and I will talk to you later. Keep rocking.